Tēnā korua.
Kia ora, Minister. The Labour Party's agreed in their caucus today that they'll allow no more than a 24-hour sanction on Te Pāti Māori's co-leaders. What do you make of that?
Well, they can come and debate that, but I suggest to the Labour Party, if they want to spend all day siding with the Māori Party's behaviour and talking about ourselves in Parliament while people actually want to see the government get on with its budget, they might have another thing coming.
They want 24 hours, as they said. I mean, the amendment on the table, or the proposal on the table is a maximum of 21 days. Are you going to look to extend beyond that? I mean, the Speaker does allow for amendments.
Frankly, the right penalty is the one that says to Te Pāti Māori, you're either in or you're out. You can't get the pay and the privileges of being a parliamentarian while trying to politically profit from taking the mickey out of the parliament everyone else is paying for. You know what? They like to make this about themselves and about the haka and about the Māori culture, but it's not about that. It's about them stopping the voice and the vote of New Zealanders being exercised in their House of Parliament. They have no right to take that voice and that vote away from the rest of New Zealand.
Is it worth making that point, even if it disrupts this debate disrupts your legislative timetable?
Well, it won't disrupt our legislative timetable. The Labour Party can choose to do that. If the Labour Party want to side with disorder and chaos over democracy and the rights of New Zealanders to have their voice and their vote heard, then that's up to the Labour Party, but I don't know if it'll end too well for them.
So will you be tabling an amendment, or will somebody from the ACT Party be tabling an amendment to increase the amount of time that they're going to be outside of Parliament suspended for?
Look, if we may well do that. I believe that until it disrupts Te Pāti Māori taking the mickey out of everyone else's parliament for their own political profit, then the penalty is they're not sufficient.
You said may well do that. Can I get something a little bit more definitive? Do you plan to increase the time?
We're not going to confirm or deny that right now, but that option is open.
Well,
that's
what
for sure.
sanction do you think would send that message to Te Pāti Māori?
Oh, look, I'd give them a couple of months to think about it, frankly. I mean, just remember, leaving their seats, trying to intimidate people, making gun gestures, disrupting a vote, refusing to engage with the Privileges Committee, leaking the Privileges Committee's proceedings, and then mocking the whole process. What sort of penalty do you think that deserves? I'd say a few months.
So how have you come to 2 months?
Well, it's a starting point. I mean, I just wonder what it will take for them to get the message. Even a couple of months might not be adequate.
But what's that couple of months based on? I mean, the longest serving punishment was 3 days for Robert Muldoon.
And that was just for criticising the Speaker. I mean, just bear in mind, yes, the penalty is unprecedented, but the behaviour is unprecedented. And the sacred right of New Zealanders to elect someone to speak on their behalf, to give their voice and give their vote without being intimidated with gunshot gestures or votes being interrupted or people leaving their seats, that's pretty important to New Zealand. And these guys' so-called rights to come along and be disruptive come a distant second to the rights of everyone else in this country to have their voice and their vote heard in a democratic society. There's a lot of people around the world right now who are literally fighting for the rights that New Zealanders have to elect a parliament and have their voice and their vote expressed. Maybe these guys in Te Pāti Māori need a couple of months to think about that.
What about the argument that this is a government suppressing the voice of a minority party in Parliament, not a majority suppressing the voice of a minority?
Well, actually, you know, there are 3 Te Pāti Māori MPs who are entitled to keep taking their seats no matter what, because they actually followed the rules. In fact, there's 120 other members of Parliament who managed to show up and follow the rules. So this is not about them. It's not about the haka. It's not about their culture. They love making everything about themselves. It's actually about the rights of every other Kiwi to have their voice and their vote reflected in a democratic Parliament.
Could you just walk us through how this actually works? If there's an amendment tabled, how does that work in terms of the vote? Who is it tabled to? I.e., is it Judith Collins sitting in the chair's seat, or is it? No,
any member can table an amendment on a question, and then that has to be voted on, as long as the amendment's in order.
Well, I mean, in saying, does that mean that anything that the opposition puts through will be voted down because the government's going to be voting as a bloc?
Well, in theory, each party can decide how they want to vote, but I think you'll see our 3 parties in coalition hanging tough.
Just to be really, really clear, just pertaining to the original proposed punishments that were put on the table by the Privileges Committee, so 21 days for Rolly and Debbie and 7 days for Hannah, would you as ACT support that proposed punishment?
Look, we'd support that. We'd also support it being tougher, because I don't think these guys have got the message. They have no right to take away the voice and vote of other New Zealanders by trying to make a mockery of our Parliament, even while they're getting its privileges and its pay.
You're
Minister,
criticising
using that logic, then should Julianne Genter have been kicked out of Parliament for 21 days or 3 months?
Well, Julianne Genter carried out one act. It wasn't premeditated. She showed a lot of apology and contrition for doing it. So no, I don't. Julianne Genter has been a Member of Parliament for at least 12 years. It seems like 100. And yet she has not taken a long-term view that her job is to come and disrupt Parliament. She had a bad day and she apologised and she paid the price for it.
You're criticising Labour for potentially taking actions to protract the debate and distract from other issues New Zealanders may be focused on. But wouldn't an act putting up an amendment do the same thing? You'd be adding to the debate?
Well, I think the question is, will our Parliament function? And I don't believe our Parliament can function when you've got a group of people who are happy to take the perks, the pay and the privileges, but aren't prepared to actually uphold the traditions of free speech and debate on behalf of the people we represent. If they want to undermine that, then actually the number one priority has got to be to uphold our democratic traditions. That matters more to me as the MP for Epsom and the leader of ACT than anything.
Do you intend to speak in the debate?
Oh, I sure do, and when I get the chance, I think it's going to be a very uplifting speech.
Are you conscious? Is there a...
Yes, I'm conscious. How about you?
I'm feeling great.
Okay.
Is there a democratic legitimacy issue in that this is a decision that's only supported by the government? Right now, you've got your justification for it, but you can imagine future scenarios where you might disagree with the decision of a government that's using its majority and only its majority to suspend MPs.
Well, I think you've got to look at the unprecedented nature of the offending. I mean, I think the real confusion is why the Labour Party are choosing to stand with not just Te Pāti Māori, but the behaviour of Te Pāti Māori, instead of standing with the ancient traditions and freedoms of New Zealanders to elect someone to speak and vote on their behalf. I think it's worrying for New Zealand. The biggest problem is we've got a Labour Party that actually has a pretty strong tradition, if we're honest, over the last century. They seem to be really losing the plot, and the only good news is I don't think it's going to be good for them at the next election. Their behaviour, in a funny way, could be good for New Zealand.
You're confident the public's on your side on this one? And that haka went around the world and got a lot of support from a lot of quarters.
Look, all sorts of cat videos, funny dances and bizarre activity can get a good showing on TikTok. Doesn't mean that she's a good Democrat or that she's upholding the traditions of our Parliament. If the people of New Zealand genuinely don't want a free and democratic society with free speech and equal representation for all, then that would really worry me. We've got a much bigger problem.
No, thank you very much.
No worries.
Was
It was absolutely a handgun, and even if she lied about it afterwards, which is another offence, I think anyone that watches that video can see she was lying. It was clearly a handgun. Thank you very much.